little sick. So you can probably hear it in my voice. So my voice might not sound as, I don't know if it ever sounded good, but it won't sound the same. All right, so before we start, we're going to go over what's new with NetDocs, what's new with Optimal, and then what's new blog post stuff like that. So let's just come over here to the NetDocs announcements page. Let's see here. So there's the web refreshes would be and there was an announcement yesterday. So CollabSpace expire. Oh, wow. Why are we doing this webinar now? Because they're of course, this is why. So we're doing a webinar on collab spaces, and now they're releasing all this stuff about collab spaces. So this webinar will immediately be out of date. But let's go because it's really good for what we're doing here. And this is what people have been asking all the time with collab spaces. There's an expiration date in collab spaces now. This is going to come out, looks like July 7th. So we should have done this webinar next week, but that's okay. Um, CollabSpace upload, fix an issue. These are just bug fixes here. So really the big issue here, and we come over here, there's some CollabSpace admin power bar. We'll talk about that today. Document downloads there. But the big thing here for us and for the webinar here is that we're going to be able to expire a CollabSpace now, which is really, really good. A lot of you have been asking for that have used the product before. Deliver a secured link, and we'll go over that there. It does have that expiration as well. NetDocs tips. Um, so one thing right here, how to stop Microsoft apps from ignoring your default browser. This was killing me. Jeff at our office wrote this. This is a policy. We got to fix the picture here that you can set up. But basically, what was happening for us in Microsoft Teams, everything was still opening in Edge, even though I wanted my default browser Chrome. So we wrote an article about that. I need to go through there and look at it again. Browser pop-ups causing NetDocs issues. So we talk about how you can set up your browser to not have any pop-up issues in Chrome, Edge, Firefox, etc. here, because we are running into some error messages there. And then why NetDocs dates display in the wrong format. And this is actually a browser setting here. So we explain how to fix that setting. So the dates will display the way you want them, but it's a browser setting, not that. So yeah, those are the three big articles that we've written, and we've got a backlog of some other stuff too. And then for events training here, we're doing collab spaces right now. We will do an office hours at the end of the month. So those are all the updates before we jump into the collab space training. Let me share it again. Is anyone else seeing my screen? Because I am sharing the screen and Zoom is telling me that I'm sharing the screen. So I know there's some questions in the chat about people not being able to see the screen. Is that the case? Okay, so we've confirmed that some of you can see the screen. So if you can't, I would get out of the training and come back in because a lot of people can see it, and we are recording it as well. All right, thank you all, everyone. So if you can't see the screen, I would just log out and log back in. All right, so today we are going over CollabSpace training. Now, along with this video, let me just jump into NetDocs real quick. And I want to just come over here to, let's open up our little CollabSpace guide. So you're going to get a copy of this CollabSpace guide tomorrow or the next day when the video comes up. And this is usually completely up to date, explaining how to set up collab spaces, how to use them. It's got a really good checklist that we're going to reference about actually going in and creating a collab space. And then we also have a CollabSpace external user guide as well. So this is something that I would give to your clients. And there's links to this manual, and I'll share this as well. And actually, this is on a web page too. So this is a good manual that you could give your clients explaining how to use CollabSpaces. But I think the thing to do here is let's just go in and let's just start creating a collab space and go through the entire process. So in my NetDocs account, let's see here, all right, we're going to come over to Massive Dynamic Skynet Acquisition, and we're going to come over to the tab Collab Spaces. Now, since this is a training and there's some people on here that I might not have set up NetDocs for, you normally would start with add collab spaces, but there are some settings that we should look at first before we just start doing this. So I'm going to come over to the NetDocs admin console. You need to be a repository admin to get in here. So if you don't see this, then you're not a repository admin. We're just going to go over the settings here. So the first one is under users and groups. I'm going to come over to this little gear and I'm going to make sure cabinet administrators can create external groups in the cabinet and add external members to those groups in the repository. I want that checked, okay, for CollabSpaces to work. The next thing I'm going to do is let's jump into the cabinet setting itself, and we're going to go over our options here. So let me scroll down here. All right. So here's external users, collab spaces, and share spaces. Share spaces are gone. So for that, allow collab spaces to be created in the cabinet. If this is set to never, then we can't create collab spaces. If we change this to only in workspaces, that's our only other option here, then we can start using collab spaces. The other thing to point out here is that you can only use collab spaces in a workspace-based cabinet. So if you have a folder-based cabinet, you can't use collab spaces. Now, some people are just going to be confused about what I said. A normal NetDocs law firm will have a client cabinet usually set up by either client or client matter. That's a workspace-based cabinet. If you have a folder-based cabinet where it's just a list of folders and there's no go to matter or go to client, then you're not going to be able to use collab spaces. Let's look at some of the other things that are important here. External members are allowed to use the email link option. I have that checked off. When we do initial training, we talk about email link and we say, hey, this is only for internal users. But if you start using collab spaces and you're sharing documents with other people, they in a sense are a NetDocs user now. So the email link, excuse me, option will then work there. So I check that off. External members are allowed to access the history of objects in this cabinet. Absolutely not. I'm never checking that off. I don't want anyone to go to history and see everything that's happened there. These are all for external users, which I also refer to as the CollabSpace users. External users are not subject to restrictions of multi-document downloads. Yes, we check that off because a lot of times we're creating a collab space and we want someone to log in and download a whole bunch of documents there. Restrict external user listing. Probably should turn that on. And I probably need to I'm going to update the manual with some of these settings here. So this way, external users won't be able to see other people that have access to the collab space. They'll only be able to see, they just won't be able to see information about other people. And then select the internal group that can create collab spaces here. Now, let's just come back up here. Who should be able to create collab spaces? I'm going to go with cabinet demo clients full access. So I'm going to basically say anyone in a member of this group can create the collab spaces. Some firms don't do that. They come up with an actual group of people. They'll have to add that group to the cabinet, and they say only members of these groups can create them. So we'll come over there. CollabSpace administrative email access. So if you don't fill this out, then you have to set up a group of users, and you have to basically, like, anyone can create a CollabSpace, but these users have to approve the CollabSpace. I just feel like it's a little bit of an administrative burden here. Allow sharing documents with external users outside of the CollabSpace. This is probably a webinar for another time, but CollabSpaces are a great place in a matter to set up an area to share documents with someone. You have to add stuff to that area, which is called the CollabSpace. What this option here does, it's basically saying, hey, share the entire matter. So we're not, in a sense, using a CollabSpace anymore. We're sharing an entire matter with an external user. And do not add cabinet default access to new CollabSpaces by default. That's interesting, but that'd be if you're creating a CollabSpace and you want to choose what internal users actually get access to it. So those are really the CollabSpace options there. I'm going to now come over here and hit submit. And let me just see, does anyone want to ask any questions about any of those options there? Or should we just move on? All right. And again, I go into detail in the manual on all those options. Let's open up the Skynet acquisition. We're going to come over to CollabSpaces. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm blaming it on I'm sick here. Okay. So this is what I'm going to go here. Let me go over the other option here. I'm going to go back into the client cabinet that we're working in. I'm going to come over to define workspace templates. Okay. And over here, you have a checkbox that says enable CollabSpaces. If you don't check that, you can still use CollabSpaces, but you have to manually add them to each matter. If you check this off here, CollabSpaces just show up on every single matter. So if I didn't have that turned on, I would have to come over to customize workspace, okay? And then I would have to check the CollabSpace box. Since I've turned it on the workspace template, I'm good to go. You need to, okay, so there's settings here that I went over, and I'm not going in a great way. There's two types of admins in NetDocs. There's a repository administrator, and that one is going to be able to come over here, come over to admin, come over to users and groups, click on the gear here, and turn this functionality on, okay? Then there is a cabinet administrator, which is a different type of access. So a cabinet administrator is someone that can come into the actual cabinet. And here's a list of my cabinet administrators here. And they're the ones that can edit the cabinet. So for this, you will need a combination of repository and cabinet administrator to set all these settings. All right, so let's go create our first CollabSpace. And in this CollabSpace, I'm going to set up an area where people can come in and view documents. And by people, I mean people outside of the law firm. So I'm going to click on Add CollabSpace. Now I have to give it a name. Now, none of my clients ever listen to me on my naming conventions here, but I'm going to go for it anyway. I'm going to give this the name of the workspace, and I'll explain why later on. But I want firms to use some sort of naming convention so we can kind of tell what this is. All right, so I'm giving this is the Massive Dynamics Skynet acquisition, and then I'm going to come over here and say view documents. And you can put a description here that the client will see, but we're setting up a CollabSpace where someone can just view documents and they can download them, but they cannot edit them. Now I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click OK again. Now, for those of you taking notes in the manual here, it's going to go, this is where we're at, the checklist. Click Add CollabSpace, give the CollabSpace a name, and click OK. We're just going through the checklist here. All right, the next thing we're going to do is click Create CollabSpace Group. Other thing here is that we are going to um, the create collab space group here. We're going to go through this process like 2 or 3 times. Okay. So so you can take notes here, but we're going to do this a couple of times. And I need to update the manual to talk about this now because I think this is important and it's going to kind of change the way I think about collab spaces. All right. Group name, I give it the exact same name of the of this here. Can I select it or no? All right, I'll just have to type it in. And I do have to sometimes worry about running out of space here. All right. So there's the group name here. All right. Now I have one of two options. And I gotta tell you that the way that I think you probably are gonna start doing it, although let me just go with the way here. At this point, normally when I did this training, I would have you start adding users. The problem with doing that is that users are going to get an email and they're going to immediately be able to log into the collab space. And you might not be ready for them to do that, right? You want to set everything up. So you want to create the group. We're going to come over here and choose create group. All right, what did I do wrong here? All right, let's just do this. All right. See when I said I was worried that I was going to make it too long? All right, so I've got massive dynamic view here. I'm going to hit apply. All right. And now we have created our collab space. We have not added anyone to it yet. Okay. But the reason we're doing this is it gives us time to then come into regular NetDocs. I'm going to come over to list view and I'm going to grab these 5 documents and I'm going to copy them into the collab space. So I'm going to click on more. I'm going to click share externally. I'm going to click on the collab space and leave it on copy and then hit OK. All right, so we've added 5 documents now to the collab space. Now we're going to come back in there. We're going to add some more stuff, but we need to explain what we just did here. Is that if we come over here and look now, we have duplicated all the documents. All right. So this document has been duplicated here. It's in here twice. Why? Because we copied it. So when you copy it, you're making a copy. Let's add one more document and let's move it. So I'm going to take this license agreement, okay, and with 3 versions, more, share externally, choose massive dynamic, and I'm going to choose move. Now, it shouldn't say move here. I don't know why NetDocs has it as move. It should say file. It should not say move. I'm going to complain to them again about it because you're not moving it. Moving it when you do it, you think it's leaving your NetDocs. It's not. It's staying exactly where it is, and it's going to show up in the collab space now. All right. So what is the difference between move and copy? Copy duplicated all the documents, okay, and added them to the collab space. Move here does not duplicate the document. So issues here is there's 3 versions of this file. Well, the person can see all the versions of it. Okay. The other thing here is that there's comments here. And when you copy, you can see the comments. When you move, you can see the copies. When you copy the document, the comments get blanked out. Sorry, I said that wrong. My mind is not as sharp as it needs to be today here. So I'll just have to recover when I make a mistake here. All right, so I've added these 6 items to the collab space now, but we have not added anyone to it yet. We've copied some, we've moved some. Again, for copy, If you don't want them to see any changes, if you don't want them to see any versions, if you don't want to see the comments, you do copy. Move, if you want to see when the document's updated, you want them to see the update. That's move. All right, let's come over and let's add someone to the collab space. So I'm going to hit the drop down here, modify access. Here is the group that we created. So if we come over here and click on the eye, we're back into where we can add an external user. And I'm going to come over here and hit create new user. And then I'm going to give this person a name. And then I'm going to type in this person's email address. Okay, I can put in their company. I'm going to check send welcome email now, and I'm going to choose create user. And then I'm going to hit save changes. And now we've added someone to the collab space. I'll hit apply. And there you go. Now, oh, interesting. All right, let's come over here and do this again. Modify access. Check this box here. Apply this access list to all documents and subfolders. I forgot to check that. All right, so what I have to do here when I get better, or I'll make someone else in my office do this, is we'll create a blog post, how to create a collab space first and go back in and add the user, and then we'll have the proper steps because I just screwed it up here. There's also the version control right here. So version control, this is new. Decide which users can access versions. So if I check this off here, I'm going to say, can they see all versions or only official? See, this is brand new within about a month of the feature here. So it kind of changes the calculus of how we do stuff. So I'm saying they can only see official versions. Realistically, in most collab spaces, that's probably what you want, especially for viewing documents. Now we'll hit apply here and we'll hit OK. And now the reason I knew it didn't work is because I wasn't, well, actually, I could be completely wrong with that. These names are too big, so maybe it was working the whole time. All right, now that we've got people here, the blue people here, everyone can see all these documents. All right, so we've created a collab space. We've now added a user to it. And if we come over here, there's the collab space, and here are all the documents. Now, before we log into the collab space as a client, okay, we send in the print instructions with the checklist. Yes. So this video will go out tomorrow to everyone who signed up for the webinar. That's the way it always is. And included in the video is the manual and the most up-to-date copy of the manual. Why is the people icon showing on the file that was moved but not copy? Okay, Patricia, this is where I think I was completely wrong here. The reason it wasn't showing is because these names were all wrong here. And I think I kind of answered the question, but I'm a little delirious right now. So I'm like, oh yeah, we're only seeing it here. So then I went in and clicked modify access, checked this box, right? And said, apply this list to all documents and subfolders. I don't think I needed to do that. The reason we weren't seeing the blue people is because I forgot to drag it over, and then they all were. So the reason you were seeing it had nothing to do with move, except that the document we moved had a short name, and these all have longer, and we can change the actual lengths of these here. All right. So now what I want to do is leave our NetDocs and let's look at what our clients would actually experience. All right. So here is your client. They're getting here's a list of all their emails. They're opening up this email. You've been added to the optimal repository powered by NetDocs. Okay. As a new user, you can access this, and then it gives you your username right here. Your username's your email address. So I'm going to click on activate, and then I have to create a password. And this is the biggest complaint I get about CollabSpaces, and I never think this will change. All right. So then your user is going to create a password, and now they can log into NetDocs. All right. When they log in, well, this is fun. All right. So we're going to troubleshoot an issue here. The issue is when the user logged in, the collab space is not a favorite here, and I'm not seeing it here. So how am I going to solve that issue? This is the exact URL to the collab space. So I could just email this. I can open up an email to Craig. All right. And then when I open it up, let's see here. Let's go into our client's email address. All right. What happens when they click here? Okay, they can see it. And now I'm going to hit the star. Okay, so here's the issue that we need to create a blog post for as well. When your client doesn't see the collab space as a favorite, usually when you set up the collab space, they would come in here and this would be favorited. And for whatever reason, they weren't. Also, over here on the navigation, they should have seen it as well, but they're not. And I need to check the settings because there's possibility that I did something wrong here. So your client's coming over, they're seeing the collab space, they're seeing a list of all the documents. And then when they go to click on something, that document should just download onto their computer. I guess in my Edge browser, I have it just set to preview here. What happens if I double click? No, it'll just preview. So for Edge here, because of their browser settings, more and then download would allow them to download it. All right. That's a collab space where they can just view documents. All right. So let's create another collab space now. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to go to collab spaces. I'm going to click on add collab space. And I'm just going to do it this massive dynamic. And then I'm going to do add documents. And then I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to click on OK again. I'm going to hit create collab space group. We're going to call this massive. All right. And then in this case, we're going to create the user right here. So create new user. Send welcome email, create user. Okay, I want you to create this, create group. All right, the thing that's different here is I'm going to come over to the rights and I'm going to change this to VES. Okay, because I want them to be able to add documents to it. So that needs to be VES. And then I will hit apply. All right, there's the add documents now. Now, here's something else I'm going to do here. Because they're adding documents, we've got some profile attributes in NetDocs. They're not going to have the ability, they can just add documents, but they don't have the ability to do with profile attributes. So I'm going to click on edit profile, and under doc type, I've created a doc type called CollabSpace documents. So when the user uploads documents, they're going to get coded to CollabSpace documents. Comments from CollabSpace. So there's no, I know exactly where they came from. Author, if you're using an author field, I created a CollabSpace author. And then I'm going to come over here and just hit update and then OK. So I've profiled the collab space. Now let's jump over to our client's email. All right, there's another email. They're going to hit activate. They're going to have to come over here. Let me copy this again. Because I used a different email address. All right, same issue here. And I kind of have an idea of what's going on. So I'm going to actually go and just copy. This is usually when someone logs into a collab space, it is a favorite. For some reason, it's not right now. Great. Copy. All right, so now I'm going to hit the little star here so I can do it. I have a feeling I know what's going on. I feel like it's the fact that in my NetDocs, and I need to go test this out on the ramifications of having this option checked. I think that's probably part of the issue, but I'm not positive about that. So anyway, I've added this collab space now. Your this person here can now add documents here. And there's a couple of ways that they can do that, but I'm just going to come over here because it's how can a CollabSpace user add documents? I'm just going to grab these documents and drag them over. All right. They just added 10 documents to this CollabSpace. Let's leave our NetDocs, their NetDocs, and go to our NetDocs. And let's come over here to the Skynet acquisition. And if we go to CollabSpace now, add documents, here are all the documents that they added. All right. Now, again, you might be like, why don't these have the blue? We just got to drag this out. They're all shared there. So if I check the box next to all these documents, who created it? Well, the external user's name. Okay. What's the doc type? And the comments and the author, all indicating that someone uploaded these from a collab space. Now, one of the things I do if I set this up so they can add stuff is I will come over here and I'm going to come over here and I'm going to click on follow and then I'll hit add and then okay. This is going to email me now anytime someone adds something to the collab space. So the external user also can use add upload to add documents to the collab space as well. And then they can just hit OK. There's no profile attributes for them to fill out. So they've just added more documents here. All right. So the clients will always need a password. There is no way, like NetDocs, I don't really think is interested in going in and creating a collab space without a username and password. Let me just come over here. So I know that's an issue, but I mean, again, if we want to keep this stuff protected, the one other thing that you could do here, and this is not collab spaces, but everyone has this, more, deliver a secured link. You can uncheck the password requirement here. So now there is no password, and you could send that to the client. Okay. But collab spaces, you will always need to use a password. There's no way around it. Okay. Do you get a follow alert if they email directly to a collab space email address? Well, let's just see here. First off, All right, not yet. All right, let's talk about what is emailing something to a CollabSpace email address. If we come over to add documents and we hit the drop down here, we can go to view email address. Okay, so if we do that and we give them this email address, if they email to this address, it will take all the attachments and add them to NetDocs into the collab space. So this is another way, and look, this way they don't need a password. Okay, you figure out the only way that a client can, if they email something to this email address, they do not need a password to add it to NetDocs. It automatically gets added to that account. So to get to that email address, we just hit the drop down here, view email address. And then this email address here, if a client emails something, now this is almost everywhere in NetDocs, but this is for external users. If they go and they use this email address, then the document, whatever documents they've attached, will automatically get added there. All right. Let me just go over some CollabSpace frequently asked questions. These are honestly built from all these webinars. How do folders work in CollabSpaces? So I go over creating folders here, how you can actually create a folder in CollabSpaces, and how you can move items into folders into a CollabSpace. We cover all that here. Um, how do I know if a client has uploaded documents to a CollabSpace? This was the follow button right here. External users cannot see the documents I've created in the CollabSpace. This explains how to fix that issue. How do I add or remove users from an existing CollabSpace? So actually, I don't need to create a blog post in this because I've already created it. This goes in after you create the CollabSpace, how you come in, and then you add users to it. That one never happens. What are the steps to properly create a CollabSpace? Let me just copy this and paste this into the chat for everyone. All right. Can external users edit documents? Yes, and I go over that step here. Um, do you have any training materials for CollabSpace users? Yes. Let me paste this in the chat as well. This is the external users chat blog post that has 3 small videos on using CollabSpaces, and they can download that CollabSpace manual as well. Can you move a CollabSpace to another matter? Absolutely not. CollabSpace is locked into whatever matter it is. Can you have clients email documents directly to a CollabSpace? Yes, and that's what we go over here on exactly how to do that. Can clients upload folders to a CollabSpace? They can, but they're going to have to download ND Office to do that. So if they do have ND Office, they would actually be able to upload documents to a CollabSpace there. All right, so let's go into the Q&A here. Allow sharing documents with external users outside of CollabSpaces. Leave it off unless you want to do it. What's the use case? Okay, here's the use case. And this is where it comes up. So we've created 2 CollabSpaces here. The only way an external user is going to see something is if something is moved or copied into the CollabSpace. The use case is I need to share this entire matter, everything in it, with someone outside of the firm. That's what that button is there for. Because if you turn that on, then anytime a document's added, the person is automatically going to see it just to NetDocs itself. If you don't have it turned on, every time you add a document to NetDocs, someone needs to go in and copy or move it to the CollabSpace. So that's why that feature exists. So I would leave it off unless you needed to use it. And again, I need to figure out if that's the reason why I'm having an issue with it being turned on right now, which it could be. If they send an email to the CollabSpace email address, would that be a secured email? I mean, or is it only secure if they log into the CollabSpace? I mean, it's securer, okay? It's securer if they log into the CollabSpace and upload it that way. What's the security risk of they're basically doing an email copy? If someone compromises your email address, they get to read all the email attachments, okay? If they compromise your client's email address, email account, they get to read everything they sent and the documents would be in there. So add upload directly into the collab space does make it easier. Doesn't make it more secure. I'm sorry. Sound like I do not sound smart today. The other thing this just brings up, just so you know that it exists, and I only have like one or two firms with this on, is if we go into NetDocs, I'm a repository admin now. I'm going to come over to Security Center and I'm going to click on Advanced Authentication and come over to MFA. Require external users to use multi-factor authentication when logging into this repository. If you check that off, all of your users will need to use an authenticator app to log in. So you're making it even more secure. I don't have a lot of firms turning that on because right now you can see from the questions, people don't want there to be a password to get into the collab spaces. And then adding on, two-factor authentication even makes it a little harder. All right. Sorry that this wasn't that great of a training. I'm going to go through, collect my thoughts. I'm going to update all the blog posts. So if you have here, and I'll update the FAQ questions here, here with just some more information that we talked about today. And then, I'll try to get better and sound more intelligent. Any other questions about collab spaces? Yes. So I'll unmute. You're unmuted. Hoyer Law Group. You just have to. Yes.
Hey, Greg, it's Sean.
Hey.
Going back to the allow sharing documents with external users outside of CollabSpaces, you'd said that gives them access to the entire workspace. So we don't have that checked right now, but from the title of that, it sounds like you could share like individual documents. Is that not what it means? It's literally you can only share the whole workspace.
No. Okay. So it's not that. You're correct. I mean, if once you do that, what you're saying basically is you don't have to put stuff in CollabSpaces for them to see it. Okay. And so the example that I think was given, like when I've turned it on before, it's because someone's like, hey, I just need this investigator to see this entire matter. And I'm like, okay, by checking that box, it just gives you the option to do it. It doesn't do it. You then have to create a group. You have to add that group either to the workspace for them to see everything, or you could go into a filter or folder, come over to modify access, and you would add that group in that way.
Okay.
So checking the box is not going to automatically do it. But since you asked, I'll just tell you right now. So the first thing that you would do after you've checked that box is come over to users and groups, come over to groups, come over to create group, give the group a name, and you're going to make it an external group. Okay. You have to do that first. Then you need to go and you would create the external. So in here, add user, you can come over here and create a user. And when you do that, you have a user type internal or external. Make sure they're external. Okay. Then you would go in, go to cabinets, open it up, and then you're going to add that group to the cabinet with no default access. Add the group to the cabinet with no default access. Then once you've done that, you would come into NetDocs and then you would need to decide what you wanted them to see. One of the options would be go to modify workspace access, give them access to the whole workspace. And I'm probably going to go in and need to hit the documents and folders and filters separately. Or you could come in here and go to modify access and only give them access to this. So you don't have to give them access to everything.
And to give them access to like an individual file, we need to put that file in a folder and then give them
Oh
access.
no, no, but I mean that's where it gets tricky because if you haven't given them access to I mean they could see the individual document. So more modify access would work. They would just need to be in list view. So you could just choose 8 documents. You don't need to put them in a folder. I mean, if you switch them over to list view and you chose some documents here, you could come over to more, modify access, and then you would choose, you have the external user group. You would grab whatever you would see the list of users here and you could add them to it.
Okay.
So I definitely need to create something about doing it. It totally works. The example that I've seen it for is, hey, I want to share this entire matter, and I'm tired of having to add each time we add a document to the collab space. That's what it was there for, but it doesn't need to be the entire matter.
Got it. Thank you.
Not a problem. All right. Well, I appreciate everyone's time. I hope everyone has a good holiday, and I will talk to you soon.